If you spend any time in the women's health world online, I'm willing to bet you've seen Berberine popping up, well, everywhere. It's getting called everything from nature's Ozempic to a total game changer for PCOS. But what is the real story here? In this explainer, we are going to cut right through all that hype and look at the actual evidence for using Berberine to manage polycystic ovarian syndrome. So let's get right to it. Is this all just hype, or is there some real hope here for people with PCOS? You've seen the claims, you've heard the buzz, and you're probably wondering if it's something that could actually work for you. Okay, let's dive in and really unpack the science to figure out what Berberine can and, just as importantly, what it can't do. So what is with the sudden buzz? I mean, why is everyone talking about this all of a sudden? Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the science, let's just take a second to look at where this is all coming from. It's become such a hot topic, right? And chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've probably seen it scrolling through your social media feed, maybe it popped up in one of those late-night deep dives into fertility forums, or maybe you've even been the one to bring it up in a conversation with your doctor. It's pretty clear this conversation has gone totally mainstream. Okay, so before we jump headfirst into the clinical studies and all the data, let's just lay a quick foundation. What even is berberine?
Well, simply put, berberine is a natural compound that's extracted from a bunch of different plants, like golden seal and barberry. And even though it feels like this brand new trend, it's actually been used for centuries in traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. It's really only recently that Western science has started to play catch-up and study what it can do for conditions like PCOS.
Now, to really get why berberine is in the spotlight, we have to talk about one of the biggest players in PCOS, insulin resistance. This is basically a condition where your body's cells kind of go numb to insulin, which is the hormone that's supposed to manage your blood sugar. The reason berberine is getting so much attention is because it seems to help wake those cells back up, making them more sensitive to insulin again. This is huge because it tackles one of the root causes of so many PCOS symptoms. All right, let's get to the main event. What does the research actually say? We're going to break down the evidence into 3 key areas that are absolutely crucial for anyone managing PCOS. First up, metabolic health. And honestly, this is where the evidence for berberine really shines. Study after study shows it can significantly improve insulin sensitivity, helping your body get a better handle on blood sugar. It also does a great job of improving your lipid profile. We're talking cholesterol and triglyceride levels. And here's the kicker. Some studies that put it head-to-head with metformin, a major prescription drug for PCOS, found that berberine was just as effective, and in some cases, maybe even more effective at improving these metabolic markers. That's pretty incredible. And those metabolic improvements have a fantastic domino effect that leads right to our second key benefit, hormonal balance. A lot of women with PCOS deal with elevated androgens like testosterone, which can cause symptoms like acne or unwanted hair. Well, the research shows berberine can help bring those androgen levels down. It also helps improve that crucial LH to FSH hormone ratio, which is vital for regular ovulation. And as a result of these hormonal shifts, some people also notice positive changes in their body composition, like a smaller waist circumference. And finally, the big one for many, reproductive outcomes. Now, this is where the research gets really exciting, but I have to be clear, it's still pretty new. There's some promising evidence that it can help kickstart ovulation and get cycles back on a more regular schedule. It might also help improve the uterine lining, making it more receptive for implantation. There was even one study on women doing IVF that found those taking berberine had better quality embryos. But, and this is a big but, we really need more large-scale long-term studies to say for sure. Okay, so we have a good idea of what it can do, but how does berberine actually stack up against other common treatments and supplements for PCOS? Putting it all in context is really the key to understanding where it might fit in. So let's start with that big head-to-head with metformin. Like we said, they work in really similar ways. Both tackle insulin resistance and help with hormones. The biggest difference in the real world? Metformin, while being the established go-to, is also famous for its pretty rough digestive side effects. For anyone who just can't tolerate metformin, berberine really presents itself as a compelling plant-based alternative that offers similar benefits, but maybe with a gentler touch. Now, what about that other super popular supplement, myo-inositol? The best way to think about them is as specialists for different jobs. Berberine's real strength is in overall metabolic health, things like cholesterol and triglycerides. Myo-inositol, on the other hand, seems to have a stronger track record specifically for getting ovulation back on track. So it's not really a question of which one is better, it's more about figuring out which tool is the right one for the specific job you need it to do. So, after looking at all the evidence and the comparisons, we're at the million-dollar question.
Is berberine actually worth it? Let's break down the final things you absolutely need to consider.
Okay, on the safety side of things, berberine is usually well tolerated. The most common complaints are pretty mild digestive things, a little bloating, maybe an upset stomach. And listen up here, there are two really important caveats. First, almost all the studies we have are short-term, so we don't really have good data on its safety over the long haul. And second, and this is absolutely critical for anyone trying to conceive, its safety during pregnancy is a total unknown, so it should be avoided.
And this right here might be the most important slide of them all. This is a critical warning. Berberine is a powerful compound, and it can interact with other medications. Because it affects your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol, taking it at the same time as prescription meds for those conditions can be genuinely dangerous. This is not something to just start taking on your own. You absolutely 100% must talk to your doctor before you even think about starting it.
Which brings us to what might be the most important point of this entire conversation, and it's captured perfectly in this quote from dietitian Melanie McGriffs. Supplements are designed to supplement, not replace a healthy diet and lifestyle. Berberine is not a magic pill. It's a potential tool, for sure, but it only works if it's part of a much bigger picture. So, what's your path forward from here? Well, it really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, see berberine for what it is, one promising tool you might be able to add to your toolkit, not the whole solution. Second, you have to prioritize the foundations that make the biggest difference for PCOS, your nutrition, how you move your body, your sleep, and how you manage stress. And finally, the most important step of all, talk with your healthcare provider to figure out if this tool is even the right one for you.
The big takeaway today is this. Berberine is a tool, not a cure. And that really leads us to our final question for you to think about. What does your complete PCOS toolkit look like? Because thinking about your health holistically is truly the most powerful thing you can do. Thanks for joining us.